Warning, this fucking following video is not for kids. Alright, what the fuck is up, everyone? Prison Meddler here. Today I'm here with Flamehead97. Today we're going to list our top 10 best metal albums of all time. So, I did a rule for myself here that I'm only going to do one album per artist, or if that makes any sense. And as for Flamehead97, I'll just let him do what he wants. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, now at the 10th spot I got is Cattle Decapitation's Monolith of Inhumanity. This is for those who don't know who Cattle Decapitation is. I haven't ranked them yet. Hopefully, I will in the future. But spoilie, this is probably my favorite one. Mainly because this album actually got me into even a more extreme genre. I started discovering this album like 2013, and I was blown the fuck away. This one, if I wasn't really into, if I didn't really listen to Monolith of Inhumanity by Cattle Decapitation, I don't think I would even go to even more extreme genre like black metal, grindcore, death grind. But this, I mean, it's not a black metal album. It's progressive death metal slash grindcore, and it just sounds awesome. So I was blown away by this album. And the song Forced Gender Reassignment. Don't watch that music video. That music video is nasty as fuck. It's like if you guys seen the Human Centipede Part 2, yeah, it's that level of nasty. So, or if you want, you check it out. I don't care, but can't say I didn't warn you. It's that level of nasty. So there you go. So, and yeah, I love all the songs. This album definitely changed my life. So yeah, Cattle Decapitation's Monolith of Humanity definitely has to be in my top 10. Alright, next up at number 9, I have Alice in Chains' Dirt. Some people may, I know it's grunge, but it can still be called metal. I'm not a grunge person myself, but I love the fuck out of this album. It should be. I know most people will pick Nirvana's Nevermind as their best grunge album, but this is number one for me. Alice in Chains Dirt. I just fucking love this album, like for real. I mean, all the songs like The Bones, Rain Till I Die, all the songs are perfect from start to finish. This is easily the best grunge album I've ever heard. Definitely one of my favorite albums of 1992, and it's not really debatable on that. So, yeah, that's all I have to say here. Alice in Chains Dirt definitely has to be in my top 10 at number 9. Alright, next up at number 8, I got Tool's Anima, or Anima, whatever you want to call it. This album is a masterpiece. It came out in 1986. It came out a year before I was born, I think it came out late 96. I'm born in January 97, so whatever. Anyway, masterpiece album. I have to say, this album is just perfect. One of my favorite prog metal albums of all time, and I just love it from beginning to end. Yeah, there's a lot of interludes, but it definitely fits well with the album. So, Tools Anima will definitely have to be in that list at number 8. Number 7 I got is Death Symbolic. Yeah, that's probably my favorite death metal record. I know most people will pick the 80s, like Scream Bloody Gore, Leprosy. I don't get me wrong, I love those albums, but this is my number one pick. Some people may it's progressive metal. Yeah, there's a lot of prog elements in it, but it's still death metal nonetheless. So it's still enough for me to call it death metal. So there you go. So yeah, this album is just perfect. I just love the riffs. I just love the energy. I just love the productions, and everything about this album is just perfect. So if you haven't listened to this album, you need to check this album out. Like for real. So yeah, guys, Symbolic by Death definitely comes into my list. Alright, number 6, I got Typo Negative's Bloody Kisses. I was blown away with that album. That album is a masterpiece. Especially with the song Bloody Kisses. Oh, that album is just no, not album, the song. Oh man, that is has like creepy vibes to it. This is a perfect album to play on Halloween, even though it's not Halloween anymore. But this is a perfect metal album to play on Halloween. It's definitely my favorite gothic metal album, for sure. Bloody Kisses and Death in the Family is definitely one of my favorite songs by Typo Negative. Same with the rest of the song. This album is just perfect. It sounds dark, it sounds creepy. I know some people will pick October Rust as their best, but I think this album is better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love October Rust, but I prefer this album more. So yeah, I love all the songs. Christian Woman, Black Number One, and they have some very We Hate Everyone. That's a great one. That's an amazing song. Too Late Frozen is amazing. I love that middle section. If you haven't listened to this album, you definitely want to check this album out. Like seriously, Typo Negative's Blade Kisses definitely belongs in that list. Okay, number 5. I got Slayer's Rain in Blood. Holy shit. Rain in Blood, Rain in Blood. This album is perfect. It's just fast. Yeah, it's really short, but it's thrash like nonstop from start to finish. It's very high tempo, nonstop. It sounds evil, and it's perfect to play on Halloween to scare people. Yeah, maybe some Westboro Baptists will call you satanic for listening to that shit, but as for me, I don't give a fuck. Let Karens be Karens. I don't give a fuck, really. But nonetheless, perfect album. Definitely belongs on my list. That's all. Number 4, I got Black Sabbath Sabotage. I think this is probably Black Sabbath's most experimental album to date. Even more experimental than Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. This album is pretty much everything. Start off with the more melodic track that they have ever done called Hole in the Sky, and then we got Symptom of the Universe. Symptom of the Universe, many people consider this as the first thrash song ever created. To me, in some way, it's more of a speed metal song. And we got the song Megalomaniac, or whatever that's called. Why the hell does that song not get any attention? Like, really? And that's the longest Black Sabbath song ever played, and it was fucking awesome. Same with the rest. It has many types of instruments playing, like saxophone, synthesizers, everything in this album. It has so much topic variety in it, and it definitely works with this album. So, and this is probably now my favorite Black Sabbath album. Originally, it was Heaven and Hell, and then it was Seventh Star, and then Headless Cross, and then now this. I think Sabotage will stay at my number 1 place. So, yeah, Sabotage by Black Sabbath definitely belongs in that list. All right, number 3. 3, I got Metallica's Ride the Lightning. I know most people would pick Master of Puppets as their number 1, but I think Ride the Lightning is my number 1. In fact, it always has been. It has not changed ever since for a couple of years, so I think it's permanently my number 1. So yeah, Ride the Lightning by Metallica, amazing from songs like Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Light, everything, Fade of Black, underrated songs like Trapped Under Ice, and we have the amazing instrumental playing at the closing track. Everything is just fucking perfect. So yeah, Ride the Lightning by Metallica definitely comes in my top 3. Alright, number 2. Sorry, it's the school bus. Moving on. Alright, number 2, I got Megadeth's Rest in Peace. I think this will remain as my favorite thrash album of all time. This album is just beyond fucking perfect. Like, really. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. And it's very technical, too, for a thrash album as well. Like, songs like Holy Wars of Punishment Due, Epic Solo by Dave, Hangar 18, definitely a perfect instrumental in the second half. Everything about this album is perfect from start to finish. So, yeah, how come this album... Who the hell would not put this album in their top 10? Like, really? So, yeah, Rust in Peace is definitely at the number 2 spot. Alright, now before I get to number 1, I have honorable mentions that is one of my favorites, but didn't end up in the list. So here are some honorable mentions: Sepultura, Arise, excuse me, Deftones, White Pony, Judas Priest, Painkiller, Dream Theater, Images and Words, Opeth, Black Water Park, Exodus, Fabulous Disaster, Mayhem, Die Mysterious Dawn, Sathanis, and Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power. So these are one of my favorites, but it didn't end up in the list. I made a rule that if I put the album in the list, it stays there. So that's why I got the honorable mentions there. All right, now on to number one. So now at number one, for now, my favorite metal album is Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time. Fucking perfect album. This is easily my favorite Iron Maiden album, and I'm sure it's probably going to be my permanent number one. Everything is perfect. I know most people would pick Number of the Beast or Power Slave as their number one, but Somewhere in Time is my number one right here. I think this is probably the most highest tempo album. It's not thrash, but it's more like speed metal. Probably the most speed metal album ever to date, with songs like The Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner, Deja Vu. That's a pretty fast song. And especially the song Caught Somewhere in Time, the opening track. That is a perfect way to open the album, Caught Somewhere in Time, especially for a metal album. So there you go on that. So yeah, guys, this album is just fucking perfect. Like, what am I supposed to say here? It's fucking perfect. So yeah, guys, Somewhere in Time is definitely my number one metal album of all time. So there you go. All right, guys. So that is my top 10 for metal albums. Metal albums of all time. Now, before we get to Flamehead's part, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and then we'll move on to Flamehead97's top 10. So yeah, guys, Prison Metaler. If you enjoy this video, subscribe to me if you haven't. Click the bell notification. Leave a like, comment, whatever. And there's a link to Flamehead97's channel in the description. So yeah, guys, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So signing out.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I am the Flamehead97, and I'm here for a collaboration video with the Prison Meddler, and it's going to be a collab for top 10 metal albums of all time. Definitely glad to have this collab happen because I've been wanting to do a kind of video like this for a while. Just put it on hold because it's definitely hard to make a list like this when there's thousands and thousands of great metal releases throughout the years. So this is my list, so let's go and get started. So kicking off my list, and at number 10 is Ride the Lightning by Metallica. I know that may be kind of low for my list, but I'll admit there is albums in metal that are more nostalgic for me, so that may be the reason why I'm putting it low in the list. But however, this is definitely a classic album, one of Metallica's best albums, easily top 3, and one of the greatest metal albums of all time. There's no denying that. So, number 10 is Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Definitely a masterpiece, one of the greatest of all time, for sure. One of their best albums as well. Number 9 is Painkiller by Judas Priest. I'm kind of biased towards this album, if I'm being honest, because it's my favorite Judas Priest album. I mean, I know they say because it's their heaviest, it's not the best, or heaviest doesn't mean best, but I kind of disagree with that because this album is flawless. I mean, they have other good albums, but this is my favorite Judas Priest album. I really like it a lot. The title track is great. A Touch of Evil was a great song. Hell Patrol was really good. Living Bad Dreams, among other really good songs. So, what is there really to say about Painkiller? This album is iconic and definitely kicked off the 90s in definitely a great way. So, this album was released in 1990, I think. So, definitely one of the best albums of that year and just one of the best metal albums to ever grace this planet. I love this album. So, number 9 is Painkiller by Judas Priest. Number 8 in my list is Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Yes, this album is iconic again. Many people's favorite Megadeth album. It is my favorite Megadeth album, and I may get some flack from people when I say this, but I do find Rust in Peace to be an overhyped and overrated album. But however, I still think it's a good album. There was only like one song on the album that I didn't really care for, but the rest of this album is just fantastic. Classic album. Another great album from 1990. So, needless to say, there's nothing else to say about this album. It's a masterpiece. It's iconic. Megadeth's best album, even though I do think it's overrated and overhyped because people see this as the best metal album of all time. While I slightly disagree with that, I still think it's a masterpiece and iconic album, and it put thrash metal on the map, especially in the 1990s decade. So, rest in peace by Megadeth, and at number 8 in my list. No matter how I feel about it being overrated, I still like the album because it's iconic as fuck. Great album. Number 7 on my list is Empire by Queensryche. Queensryche, they're not for everybody, but I think they're the best progressive metal band out there. Some people would say Dream Theater, but for me, Queensryche takes the cake for me as the best progressive metal band out there, if you ask me, at least. But yeah, Empire, this is my favorite Queensryche album. I just really love this album. I know it's very mainstream, you can definitely tell that compared to their earlier stuff before Empire, but however, I love this album a lot. You have a lot of great songs like the title track Empire, Silent Lucidity, Hand on Heart was a great song, very underrated song, I might add there. Great song. Another Rainy Night Without You, Jet City Woman, just so many iconic Queensryche songs. So this album definitely means a lot to me, and I'm glad I got to discover this album a few years back because this album is just amazing and it's my favorite album from Queensryche. So I'm gonna be biased again and put it on this list. And at number 7. Number 6 on my list is Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. Most people would say this album isn't iconic as some of their other albums in my list here, but I really love Nightmare. It was their first album without the Rev. Definitely rest in peace to the Rev. Definitely a great drummer. May he rest in paradise. So, yeah, the Rev ended up passing away in late 2009 before this album can even get released. So, yeah, this album was pretty much a tribute to the Rev. So, yeah, they had drummer Mike Portnoy, formerly of Dream Theater, on drums for this album. And I think Mike was definitely a great replacement for the Rev. So, yeah, this album just amazing from start to finish. No bad songs at all. Some favorites, though, for me would be Nightmare, the title track, So Far Away, Fiction. What was another good song on that album? Natural Born Killer, Welcome to the Family. Just so many good songs from Avenged Sevenfold. So, this album, definitely a great album. I would agree when people say it's overrated, or one of the most overrated albums when it comes to metal, but I still like the album, and it's definitely great from beginning to end. And this album closes off with a really epic song called Save Me. So, Avenged Sevenfold's Nightmare definitely has to make my list. I love this album. It's one of the best albums of the last decade since it was released in 2010. Great album. Number 5, so we're finally in the top 5. So number 5 for me is 10,000 Fists by Disturbed. This album and band is just very nostalgic for me. I first got to discover Disturbed in like the late 2000s to early 2010s because my mom, some guy she was with at the time, he pretty much had a lot of Disturbed albums and he would listen to them in front of me when I was like a preteen and teenager. So that's pretty much how I got to discover metal music. And it's definitely nostalgic for me. So I'm very biased towards Disturbed and their music because this band is just iconic for me, very nostalgic. One of the first bands who got me into heavier music. But yeah, 10,000 Fists, amazing album, no bad songs at all, but some favorites for me would be Stricken, Decadence, Deify. Really like the cover that they done. What was the song name? I'm forgetting the cover, but they have a cover on the album. It was a really good cover. Originally by Genesis, so that was a great cover. I'm forgetting the song name by heart because I'm bad at that sometimes, but Oh, Land of Confusion, that was the cover. Land of Confusion was on this Disturbed album. Just a really good cover. So, 10,000 Fists, just an amazing album. Check that out if you're a fan of, like, the 2000s metal, because this album is just iconic and nostalgic for me. There's a lot that I can say, but that's all I'm going to say for it. Just an amazing album. No bad songs at all. Number 4 is The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. This was one of the first metal albums that I actually got to buy on CD with my own money. I would say around 2017, 2018, right around there. So this was one of the first, if not the first, classic metal album that I ever bought on CD. So, yeah, man, this is my favorite Iron Maiden album. I would agree again when people say this album is overrated and not their best, this and that, but I still think it's a good album. The title track is one of the most iconic songs, The Number of the Beast. Also liked, what was another song on that album that was really good? Phantom of the Opera. I don't think that's the song. I think that's on a classical album from Iron Maiden. Forgetting the song name. Let me do some research here on my phone and I'll let you guys know. Because I'm bad at remembering song names. The Number of the Beast. Come on, phone, just hurry up. The Number of the Beast album, yes. Okay, so the title track, The Number of the Beast, it was Hallowed by Thy Name. That's an Iron Maiden song. So my bad on that mistake there. Run to the Hills was great. Children of the Damned. I really love Children of the Damned. It's probably my favorite song on the album. I just really love that song. It's so iconic. For an Iron Maiden song, it's definitely underrated. So yeah, this album is just amazing. One of the best classic albums in metal history. So number 4 is The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. I really apologize about forgetting some song names, because it's been a while since I listened to anything from Iron Maiden. Definitely a classic band. So number 4, The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Top 3 time now. So number 3 for me is Iowa by Slipknot. This is my favorite Slipknot album of all time. I think it's their best album. This album, compared to the self-titled, I think this album is better. Self-titled wasn't bad, but this album put Slipknot on the map, made them huge stars. I mean, they were huge stars with the self-titled album, but I think they were huger stars in the music industry with Iowa, because it was definitely a heavy, aggressive, and angry album, and I think the band was even going through a really tough time while making this album, and you can definitely hear that in the music. Got songs like Disaster Piece, title track Iowa was pretty good, and many other good songs. So yeah, man, Iowa's definitely a classic. It's one of the best new metal albums of all time, if you ask me. So I really love Iowa. Definitely an amazing album by Slipknot, and one of their best, so there's nothing else really to say. It's that good. One of the most iconic new metal albums of all time. Number 2 is Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. I love this album. It wasn't my first Pantera album. My first Pantera album was actually Cowboys from Hell, but Vulgar Display of Power is my favorite Pantera album, so that's why I'm choosing this album over Cowboys from Hell, if I'm being really honest with you guys. So yeah, this album is very iconic. I love this album a lot. It is one of the best metal albums of 1992. I love this album so much. Just fantastic, masterpiece, classic, zero bad songs. Some favorites that would be Walk. That was my first Pantera song in 2015. Back when I used to use Pandora Radio. That song made me a big metal fan. Even though I discovered metal, like I said with Disturbed earlier on in the video, this song made me want to be a metal fan more than I already was. So, yeah, man. Walk, iconic, very nostalgic for me. I know the song is from the 90s, and I didn't get to check it out in the 2000s growing up or anything, because I was more of a rap fan growing up, while I still love rap music to this day. Definitely have a soft place for metal as well. So, Walk, definitely amazing song. glad I got to discover it. Another great song was Fucking Hostile. The ballad Hollow was amazing. So there's a shit ton of great songs on Vulgar Display of Power. May, Dimebag Darrell, and Vinnie Paul rest in paradise. Definitely a legendary album from Pantera. So number 1 is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. My favorite Black Sabbath album. I mean, they have other great albums like Master of Reality and Paranoid and many others, but this is my favorite Black Sabbath album. I mean, I wouldn't really know if it would actually be my favorite metal album of all time, but I'm putting it in at number 1 because I really don't know what else to put at number 1. So, this album is my number 1 for this video at least. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. It's an amazing album, don't get me wrong. It's just hard to choose a number 1 album for this collab because there's a shit tons of great metal albums throughout the years. But this is my number 1 album. I really love the title track, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Definitely a classic and iconic song from these legends. And Ozzy, definitely an amazing vocalist, songwriter, definitely one of the best metal bands of all time. These guys invented heavy metal, if you ask me. So, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, one of the best metal albums. I think this album was released in the 70s, something like that. So, yeah, man, this album is iconic as fuck, man. I love this album from beginning to end. National Acrobat was another great song, and many other great songs. So, yeah, man, this is my list for top 10 metal albums of all time. I know I kind of repeated myself throughout the video, but not much I can say when you're talking about best metal albums of all time, because these albums are great. So, let me know y'all's list. Thank you, Prison Meddler, for having me in your collab video and on your channel for the very first time. I also like to have this video on my channel as well sometime, so it'd be pretty cool. So yeah, guys, let me know y'all's list, and this is mine, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.